When it rains just for a few hours, Bengaluru is brought down to its knees. And it's the same places around the outer ring road area, either in the Martahalli side or in the Bengaluru side, or this time around further south on Hosur Road, which leads up to Electronic City. Every single year, every single time it rains, and just for a few hours, it is the return of the same problem. The low-lying areas, the lakeside areas, the newly constructed areas of the city face the same inundation problem. This year, it is worse because the government of Siddaramaiah is busy celebrating its second-year anniversary 300 kilometers away in faraway Vijayanagara, even as the capital, Bengaluru, is sinking. There are 3 people who are dead because of wall collapses and because of electrocution. The point is, at a time such as this, when the capital is knee-deep in water, when normal life has been badly affected, when Bengalurians, corporate Bengalurians, have been asked to work from home because the roads cannot facilitate the traffic anymore, why should there be such a lavish celebration for the second-year anniversary of the Siddaramaiah government? Is this not a case of completely misplaced priorities? We'll try and put that political question to political spokespersons who will be joining us in just a moment. But I want to bring you up to speed with how it is the same set of localities in Bengaluru which are always paralyzed, always waterlogged every single time there is either the monsoon or, in this case, pre-monsoon showers. Some of the worst affected areas in the last 48 hours include Kengeri, which is on the outskirts of the city. This is the newer and up-and-coming parts of the city. In fact, in Kengeri, there were at least 100 homes that have been inundated. There was heavy rainfall overnight between 3 a.m. in the morning and 5 a.m. in the morning. This was on Monday. It continued Tuesday morning as well. Whether it is posh localities like Koramangala in South Bengaluru, where there were 20-odd crossroads that were waterlogged. Many homes were submerged there. In neighboring BTM layout as well, again, the inundation was pretty bad. In the outskirts of the city, in places like Yelhanka, in Hennur, again, roads turned into rivers and rivulets as the drainage system simply gave way. HSR layout, which is often showcased as one of the well-planned and upscale neighborhoods in South Bengaluru, again, that was completely inundated, and it was parts of which resembled almost like a seasonal lake. So once again, the point is that in Bengaluru, it's the same localities that get flooded every year, year after year, and no one seems to care. No one seems to be able to take some decisive action in a way that it will make a difference. Let's listen in to the defense that's been coming forth from the people who run the BBMP and other local government agencies there in Bengaluru.
To apologize to the citizens for inconvenience caused due to rains, because we obviously want to provide the best services. Wherever there are drains which are blocked, wherever there are any issues which can be handled immediately in the short term, we will do it. Or flooding for temporary times, we will put pumps, etc. Arrangements have been made in all locations. All agencies have been activated. Major program with the for remodeling of stormwater drains. Hopefully that will provide some solution in the earliest.
Meanwhile, to add insult to injury, as it were, to rub salt into the wounds, the Congress government in the state under Chief Minister Siddaramaiah has been facing flack. The IT capital of the country is drowning every single time there is heavy rainfall. On the ground, the government today was absent. Certainly ministers, the deputy chief minister, the chief minister, they were all absent from the ground because they were far away in Vijayanagara to mark 2 years of governance. There were celebratory visuals coming from there. Rahul Gandhi, leader of the opposition, was there. The Congress party president, Mallikarjun Kharge, was there. It was really tone deaf, to say the least, that you have the Congress party and the state government celebrating its second-year anniversary at the same time that the capital is sinking. Heavy rains left large parts of Bengaluru waterlogged. The Congress government in Karnataka went ahead with its second-year anniversary celebrations. This happened in a place called Hospete. 3 lives have been lost, so there have been damaging consequences as well. There's been 1 woman and 2 others who've lost their lives because of a wall collapse, because of electrocution in the last 2 days. But both the Chief Minister Siddaramaiah and the Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivkumar, who also happens to be the Guardian Minister of Bengaluru, were over 300 kilometers away. Residents of Bengaluru complained of poor drainage, roads that cannot be used, roads that have literally become like rivers and lakes, delayed emergency response, and an unhelpful BBMP. But the Congress and its leadership, the state leadership, was busy highlighting the welfare-driven governance model of the last 2 years, far away, almost oblivious to what was going on in the capital.
Siddaramaiah government has become so insensitive. When people are worst affected due to heavy rains from last 2 days in Bangalore, state government is busy in celebrating in 2 years completion at Hospet. People are suffering.
ಈ ವೈಟ್ ಟಾಪಿಂಗು ಮತ್ತು ರಿಪೇರಿ ಕೆಲಸಗಳು ಎಲ್ಲ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಮಳೆಗಾಲ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಹತ್ರ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಡೆಬ್ರಿಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು ಅಂತ ಅನಿಸುತ್ತೆ.
All right, I want to go for a quick face-off. Mohan Mishra is spokesperson of the Karnataka BJP. Satabi Shivanna is spokesperson of the Karnataka Congress. Mr. Shivanna, let me start with you first. I mean, what possible justification can there be? Fact is, it happens year after year, whether it is for monsoons or whether it is for pre-monsoon showers. And at a time when Bengaluru was crippled, what was the point of having this 2-year celebration? Could that not have been delayed by a few days?
No, you're speaking as if we are unempathetic towards the people. The minister, Shri D.K. Shivkumar, was in constant touch with the concerned officers. They were closely monitoring the situation. The Honorable Chief Minister and D.K. Shivkumar were in the command center and they were, in the war room taking stock of the situation just yesterday. They were in Ballari.
So that was yesterday.
Well.
Where were they today? Where were they today?
They personally visited all the places.
No, where were they today? That was yesterday. I can show you those visuals. Where were they today?
I hope you'll give me an opportunity to at least put my point first before you interject me. They have personally visited all these places by road. And you must understand, Bangalore is a dynamic city of 1.4 crore, 5 crore people. And it's a magnet for talent and growth. These issues are not new to Bangalore.
So what does dynamic city have got to do with third world infrastructure?
Listen to what I'm saying.
No, because you're a lawyer, I presume. You're giving absolutely incogent arguments. What does 1.5 crore people have to do with third world infrastructure? Tokyo has more people than that. Shanghai has more people than that. Do you see pictures of waterlogged roads from there?
If you can kindly not interject and allow me to make my point, I think you will be able to understand what I'm trying to say. Flooding during heavy rains is not a new issue, Zaka. It is a decade-old crisis that has outlasted multiple administrations and political
So people of Bengaluru should just grin and put up with it.
No, it's not that.
Should bear and put up with it because it's been there for 10 years, it's been there for the last 30 years.
I don't understand.
Let's just put up with it, right? Let's just grin and bear it.
I don't understand your anxiety, but I will tell you.
You don't understand my anxiety. Do you want me to open phone lines and make you listen to the anxiety of Bengalurians? Mr. Shivanna, forget about my anxiety. Do you want me to open the phone lines and make you hear people in Bengaluru city and how they are cribbing? Do you want me to do that?
And I'm answerable only to the people of Bangalore.
Okay.
Since we have come into
let's
power,
open the phone lines. Mr. Shivanna wants to hear. Mr. Shivanna wants to hear from the people of Bengaluru. Let's put it up on our Twitter timeline. Let's put it up on our screens. I'm going to open up the phone line. Please call us. The number is going to flash on your screen. And please directly, citizens of Bengaluru, concerned citizens of Bengaluru who've been stuck, not being able to go to their workplaces, who've been stuck at home, who've been not able to send their kids to school, please call us. CNN News 18 is the platform. We will make Mr. Shivanna, we will make the Congress party, the state government there, listen to ordinary Bengalurians as to whether they found this convenient or whether they found this a possible hindrance in their normal lives. But in the meanwhile, Mr. Mohan Mishra, Mr. Shivanna says, what is the big deal? This has been happening for the last 10 years. It's just a couple of days of inconvenience. Put up with it. What's the big deal?
See, Zaka, this is the irresponsible statement given by Congress person. At the same time, even D.K. Shivkumar also has given an irresponsible statement stating that why they will construct home where the water flows. That's the kind of irresponsible statement Mr. D.K. Shivkumar has been given. Same thing is following here in the TV also. Zaka, let me tell you, the biggest problem for the Congress, that too especially for Bangalore, is since 2 years, we have a part-time minister called Mr. D.K. Shivkumar, who is also head of KPCC, who is also higher education minister, who is also Bangalore in-charge minister. He is highly incapable of handling all the three. When he is incapable of handling the three portfolios, why he should hold that? So he's a part-time minister. That's the biggest problem with Mr. D.K. Shivkumar. At the same time, Mr. Maheshwar Rao, who spoke just now with your TV channel, who is a BBMP commissioner, he is also part-time. He is heading Bangalore Metro Rail Corporation also, and he is in charge of BBMP also. Come on, what can you expect from this kind of part-time minister and also part-time officer when it comes to rain? Let me tell you, Zaka, in the month of February itself, there was a high alert of rain. This government, that too Mr. D.K. Shivakumar, he was in charge of Bangalore. Instead of focusing on the issues where the waterlogging happens, he was focusing more on bringing the outskirts villages inside BBMP. He was focusing more on building smart cities around Bangalore. He was focusing more on expanding.
Smart city is fine as long as you have drains that will take away the water. Nobody has a problem with smart city. At least let's get, water efficient cities, drainage efficient cities. I've got a caller. One sec, because Mr. Shivanna asked, and I want to once again appeal to residents in Bengaluru who are watching this program. I know a lot of you watch this program. 0120-640-3751. That's the number. It's flashing on your screen. Mr. Rajesh is calling us. He's from Bengaluru. Mr. Rajesh, good evening, and please tell our spokespersons, please tell our viewers what you have been through today and yesterday.
It is better to stop doing the advocacy here instead of that here.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. What happened? Yeah. What happened in your normal life yesterday and today, Mr. Rajesh?
I would just like to give one simple example. Monday morning, I was stuck near the Hosur. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, go ahead. You were stuck?
Monday early morning, I left my home at 4:45 in the morning. I got stuck for 3 hours, not able to reach my office well in time on Hosur Road, only because of rain. What is the issue there? People don't care. See, to be very, very frank, from the time this Congress government has come in, every time Siddaramaia's government has come into India, Karnataka, the basic thing they do is they just don't care for Bangalore. They don't care. Neither they care for the villages, nor they care for anything. It is just corruption. It is just that people don't care. And better Congress spokesperson not come to these studios and try to, basically defend something.
This is indefensible. This is not defendable. Thank you, Mr. Rajesh. And sorry for the fact that you had to wait for 3 hours to get to your office, and that too early in the morning at 5 a.m. Mr. Ashwath is also calling us. Mr. Ashwath from Bangalore. Yeah, Mr. Ashwath.
Good evening to you all.
Yeah.
See, especially after this Congress government came into administration in Karnataka, condition has gone from bad to worse. Actually, this is the leadership not having any vision for the development of Karnataka. And they understood very well Bangalore is not giving anything to this party. So they totally ignored Bangaloreans right from the beginning.
Okay.
See, when they came to power, their statement was that other government was in corruption. They wanted to reduce the corruption and wanted to give the good governance to the Karnataka people.
Okay.
Now, in all front, this government failed. So, in Rajarajeshwari Nagara entrance, it is so pathetic. Last government started some job. It dig especially the entrance of the road. Now, for the last 2 years, it is in the same condition. Just imagine what could be the condition of passengers there.
So no work has happened for the last 2 years.
Nothing,
okay. All right,
nothing,
Mr. Ashwath, thank you.
Word. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you
now,
very much.
If we have more callers, we can go to them. Otherwise, Mr. Shivanna, you want to respond to these two Bangaloreans? You said Bangaloreans are happy, they're okay, they can survive 2 days. You want to respond to these two individuals? We'll connect more if there are more callers, and I'm sure there are. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Shivanna.
Zaka, I am a Bangalorean myself. And I share the sentiment of every Bangalorean when it comes to flood, heavy rains and traffic. But let me tell you what this Congress government has done since the time they have come into power. The flooding issue has been resolved in 70% of the identified areas in Bengaluru. We have identified 210 areas as flood-prone areas, and we have fixed 166 of those localities since the time we came into power.
Sir,
we have built
if you fix, can I ask one thing? Mr. Shivanna, if out of 200 places, as you claim, if out of 200 places, 160 plus places you have fixed the flooding problem, then where are we showing these pictures from? We are showing these pictures from Mars or Venus. Where are we showing this from?
Listen to what I'm saying. We have built 197 stormwater drains and we have spent about 2,000 crores for the same.
So exactly my question, where did the 2,000 crores go? Where did these 197 stormwater drains go? They've also been drained away in the rain.
I don't understand why you're interjecting me and giving.
Sir, because you have no answers today. You have no answers today, and worse, you have made it worse for Bangaloreans by saying this is how it's been for the last 10 years. What is the big deal, Mr. Vijay? One second. Since you asked,
can you give an example?
Since
can
you
I ask
asked,
one question, please?
Since you asked, let me give you the opportunity. Let me give you the opportunity to listen from more Bangaloreans. Mr. Vijayan is joining us on the phone line again from Bangalore. Mr. Vijayan, good evening. Yes, please tell us how your life has been affected last 2 days. Yes, please.
Very pathetic. Last 2 years, you are struggling anything. No sewage system. Roads are very pathetic conditions. Water is coming out. You are not able to, senior citizen, you are not able to walk. The footpath, all the people are encouraging. I complained to the local, this guy, traffic police, he's also bothered. Very pathetic situation.
Sir, which locality in Bangalore? Which area? Sivaramanagar. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your call. These are, by the way, not poor areas. These are not slum areas. We had a caller from Rajrajeshwari Nagar just a moment ago. We had a person from C.V. Raman Nagar. These are all upscale areas. There's a person who got stuck in Hosur Road for 3 hours. This is the road that leads up to Electronic City. I'm not even going to the poorer, more slum areas of Bengaluru. If this is the case in upscale neighborhoods, then Mohan Vishwa, what hope does the city have? I've got to
just give me 30
uninterrupted
seconds.
My friend. Hello, hold on. Zaka, my friend, Congress spokesperson, he said that they've identified some places. I don't know which are those places from where they've identified. He said 70% of the problem has been fixed. Let me reiterate, Zaka. Just now I saw one video on your screen itself where the people are going in the boat. That locality is called Sai Layout. Okay. The problem is there from past 3 years. When we were there also, we started the work. During our time, same Siddaramaiah and same D.K. Shivakumar went in the same boat into the same area, and they said when there comes power, next year, when they come to the power, the water locking will not be there. That's the promise they have given. But yesterday, same layout for the same place, Mr. Siddaramaiah and D.K. Shivakumar and BBMP commissioner have gone the tractor. Come on. This is the kind of tracking they are making. One layout, if they are not able to fix, imagine the kind of lie they are spreading.
Okay.
That, they have fixed all the...
I'll get one final caller again from Bangalore. Ms. Jayashree is joining us. Ms. Jayashree, which part of Bangalore are you calling from, and how has your life been affected in the last 2 days? Please tell us.
Yes, sir. So I'm just traveling. I'm a 15-year-old woman traveling daily from Attibele to Rajaji Nagar. Because I work in Rajaji Nagar as an accounts manager in a private firm.
Okay.
Yesterday evening when we left the office around 5:15, I usually reach home by 8:15 or so on the usual traffic. But yesterday it happened due to rain and the block. I reached home around 9:50, sir.
Okay.
That too reached Attibele by 9:25.
So 5 hours you were out on the road because of the rain.
Yes, I was out of the road, and to our road from Electronic City flyover, half of the flyover I was stuck in the traffic, and throughout it was continuously from there to Attibele.
All right, thanks very much, ma'am. Thank you for joining us. So you got a sampling of the callers. Like I said, we didn't intend to start this show with callers, but because it was requested by Mr. Shivanna, I hope you've heard Bangaloreans. I hope you've heard their concerns, and I hope you can do something about it, Mr. Shivanna. Yeah.
30 seconds.
Yeah,
I
30
just want
seconds.
30 seconds. See, it's not that the Congress government is not working round the clock to address these issues. This issue is not a new issue. It has been existing for a long time. The only difference now is we're working to resolve them. And you have to stress one of the main issues why this is happening is because of the BJP. Because we are unable to conduct local body... I'll tell you. Please give me 10 seconds. Local body elections in Bangalore has not been conducted for the past 5 years. And the blame lies squarely with the BJP because they undertook an arbitrary and illegal exercise of delimitation and reservation. They were reprimanded by the Honorable High Court of Karnataka, and this was not in the interest of fair representation.
So if local body elections had happened, then the city would not flood. That's your logic. That's your argument.
If there is local administration, these issues could have been resolved in a more effective manner.
No, there is a BBMP commissioner. There is 12,000 crores, sorry, 19,000 crores is the budget of the BBMP. 19,000 crores. That money has gone down the drain because of what has happened these last 2 days. We'll leave it at that, Mr. Shivanna. Mr. Mohan Vishwa, thank you for joining us. I really hope that Bangaloreans deserve better. Certainly they are from their local government, certainly from this annual torture that they have to undergo every year during monsoon and pre-monsoon. Parts of the city just completely cave in, completely just drown out. All right, let's move on here on the program. I want to move on to the other big story, the national story. India is being praised globally for Operation Sindoor and the decisive strikes on the terror infrastructure in Pakistan. But politics is now rearing its ugly head. Barbs are being traded, memes are being shared on social media. It's a Mir Jafar versus Jai Chand narrative that's being played out between the BJP and the Congress. The BJP shared an image of Rahul Gandhi asking how many jets India lost, calling him a modern-day Mir Jafar. The Congress responded by calling External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar as a modern-day Jai Chand, following up with an AI-generated image of Indira Gandhi and Prime Minister Modi. Earlier in the day, the Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge sparked off a political controversy, calling the Operation Sindoor just a small war. Kharge appeared to downplay the significance of the military action. He also questioned why Prime Minister Modi altered his itinerary on the 17th of April. He alleged that Mr. Modi skipped a visit to Jammu and Kashmir because he had been forewarned. He had intelligence reports that Jammu and Kashmir was facing security concerns, and that's why he didn't show up for that function in J&K.
ಮತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಈಗೇನು ನಾವು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಚುಟ್ಪುಟ್ಟು ಯುದ್ಧಗಳು ನಡೆದಿವೆ ಅಥವಾ ನಮ್ಮ ಪಾಕಿಸ್ತಾನ ವಿರುದ್ಧ ನಾವೇನು ಘರ್ಷಣೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ.
Now, post-Operation Sindoor, there have been several instances where Rahul Gandhi's views have been picked up and amplified by Pakistani politicians or Pakistani media. Rahul Gandhi's tweet questioning the External Affairs Minister over the weekend and effectively implying that he was a traitor of sorts because he quote-unquote informed Pakistan before the operation. That was carried out by the Pakistani media. It was carried amongst channels as well as amongst papers. The BJP says the Pakistani establishment uses Rahul Gandhi's statements in international fora to deflect attention from its own role in harboring terrorists. The BJP claims that Rahul Gandhi's words repeatedly serve as cover for those who sponsor cross-border terror. The Pakistani TGISPR showed a video of Rahul Gandhi and Satyapal Malik, the former governor of Jammu and Kashmir, to further push their fake narrative. A former Pakistan minister reshared the Congress's Gayab social media post against Prime Minister Modi at the height of the Operation Sindoor.
खरगे जी कह रहे हैं कि ऑपरेशन सिंदूर एक छोटी सी लड़ाई है जिसके सबसे बड़े नेता राहुल गांधी बड़ी सी पार्टी मना रहे हों, उनके लिए ऑपरेशन सिंदूर एक छोटी सी ही लड़ाई नजर आएगी। क्या राहुल गांधी और खरगे जी ये समझ नहीं पा रहे हैं कि ऑपरेशन सिंदूर में घर के अंदर घुस के, पाकिस्तान के अंदर घुस के भारत की सेना ने अदम्य साहस के परिचय के साथ 9 आतंकी अड्डों को ध्वस्त किया, मिट्टी में मिलाया और पाकिस्तान आज करहाते हुए नजर आ रहा है। ऐसे में जब आप कहते हैं कि ऑपरेशन सिंदूर कुछ नहीं, एक छोटी सी लड़ाई थी, ये कहीं ना कहीं अपने देश के साथ, अपने देश के सेना के अदम्य साहस के साथ यह धोखा है।
Now, when Mr. Kharge called Operation Sindoor a small war, he seems to have forgotten that at least 100 terrorists, including top 5 Lashkar, Jaish and Hizbul Mujahideen terrorists, were killed by the armed forces operation. This remark comes after the Congress called External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar a traitor. Rahul Gandhi and Aditya Thackeray said that informing Pakistan at the start of the attack was a crime, an allegation that's been outright rejected by the Foreign Ministry. Echoing the Congress's sentiments, PDP chief and former Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti has also said that Operation Sindoor has achieved nothing and repeated that Jaishankar informed Pakistan, the claim that Rahul Gandhi first tweeted. But to remind Mehbooba Mufti and others, India struck deep inside Pakistan, 9 terror launch pads were destroyed and 11 Pakistani air bases were also hit.
मुझे मालूम नहीं क्या फायदा हो गया, पर नुकसान मैं कह सकती हूँ कि हमारे घर उजड़ गए, हमारे मकान बर्बाद हो गए, हमारे बच्चे इसमें शहीद हो गए। इससे ज्यादा क्या अचीव किया होगा, क्योंकि जो मिलिटेंट इसमें या टेररिस्ट जिसको आप कहते हैं, जो इसमें इन्वॉल्व थे, अभी तक उनको पकड़ा नहीं गया, अभी तक उनकी कोई खैर खबर नहीं है। हमारे एक्सटर्नल अफेयर मिनिस्टर ने बताया कि मैंने पाकिस्तान को पहले ही वार्न किया था। तो इसका मतलब है जब आप वार्न करते हैं उनको, तो इसका मतलब है जो आप कहते हैं कि हमने टेररिस्ट कैंप्स पे अटैक किया, तो वो भी उनको भी मिल गया होगा मौका वहां से भागने का। तो मुझे नहीं मालूम, कि मेरे लिए तो ये 0/0 है।
Meanwhile, there are bigger concerns that India has to watch out for. It's not just the question of dealing with Pakistan and watching the western flank. Chinese officials have reportedly visited a World War II era airbase in Bangladesh, very close to the Siliguri corridor, or the Chicken's Neck as it's known. The airbase, which has remained inactive for decades, is now controlled by the Bangladesh Air Force. It's barely 100 kilometers away from the Siliguri corridor, which is known as the Chicken's Neck, which connects northeast India, the 8 states of the northeast, to the rest of the country. What could this mean for India's national security, given now that there is a strategic understanding, an embrace almost, between China and Pakistan, and possibly Bangladesh is also being drawn into it? China is reportedly helping Bangladesh in reviving an old World War II airbase at Lalmonir Hat. This old British-era base is just 12 to 15 kilometers from the Indian border. The airfield is currently controlled by the Bangladesh Air Force, but it has been inactive for decades. More crucially, this airbase lies just 135 kilometers from the Siliguri corridor, which is known as India's Chicken's Neck. This Chicken's Neck connects the northeast of the country to the rest of the mainland. Chinese officials recently visited the site in Lalmonir Hat, signaling Beijing's growing interest in this project. Although the purpose of reviving this airstrip, whether it will be used for civilian purposes or military reasons, that is still unclear. But what is clear is that such a Chinese presence so close to this narrow passage could increase India's vulnerability. Originally built by the British in 1931, Lalmonir Hat served as a forward base for Allied forces in Southeast Asia during World War II. After the partition, Pakistan briefly reopened this airstrip in 1958 for civilian use. Since then, it has been largely abandoned despite its sprawling 1,100 acres and facilities which include a 4-kilometer runway and a large tarmac. Back in 2019, Bangladesh's then Sheikh Hasina government had announced plans to develop an aviation and aerospace university in Lalmonir Hat, but now it's operational under the Bangladesh Air Force. Recently, the interim administration, led by Professor Mohammad Yunus, proposed reviving Lalmonir Hat and 5 other British-era airports to boost the local economy there. Those other airports include Ishwardi, Thakurgaon, Shamshernagar, Comilla, and Bogra. The Siliguri corridor, which is known as the Chicken's Neck, is the only land route connecting India's northeast to the rest of the mainland of the country. At its narrowest point, the Chicken's Neck is merely 22 kilometers wide, making it a strategic choke point for India. It is a lifeline, which is the only road and rail link that connects India's 8 northeastern states to the mainland. The corridor's security is vital. If the reports of potential Chinese involvement in developing this Bangladeshi airbase, possibly as a civilian airport, is true, then it could be a direct threat to the Chicken's Neck. The fears always persist that the revival of this airbase could serve dual civilian and military purposes. This could enable China to monitor Indian military movements or even gather intelligence close to the Siliguri corridor. Any disruption to this lifeline could threaten India's territorial integrity. China's expanding military presence near the India-Bhutan-China tri-junction has already heightened tensions. In fact, if you remember, the 2017 Doklam standoff exposed the vulnerabilities of the Siliguri corridor, pushing India to further strengthen its defenses there. China's growing footprint in Bangladesh includes not just military interests but also economic projects. Chinese companies are building factories and also a solar power plant near Rangpur and a satellite city there as well. These factories are operated almost entirely by Chinese personnel. There's very minimal involvement from local workers. This is a pattern that is similar to what has been seen in Chinese projects in Pakistan and in Sri Lanka. It leads to an alienation of the local population, which view this as inimical to their own job opportunities. Chinese firms are also deeply involved in regional infrastructure and connectivity efforts very close to India's border. One thing is, China has definitive plans for the South Asian region, particularly around India's northeast. And all this while those plans may have been dormant because Bangladesh was ruled for a very long time, over a decade and a half, by former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, who of course was more accommodative towards India's interests. Now with the regime change there in Dhaka and Muhammad Yunus making an open offer that Bangladesh can be a fountainhead against India, China would definitely be tempted to take up the airport project. India is also watching Bangladesh warming up in its ties with both China and Pakistan. And this, of course, is being viewed with a degree of concern in South Bloc. Before Chinese officials visited Lalmonir Hat, a Pakistani military intelligence delegation also inspected some of the border areas of Bangladesh. We have seen a warming of ties between Islamabad and Dhaka, including military delegations going from Islamabad to Dhaka. The Pakistani spy agency ISI historically has had close links with armed separatist groups in India's northeast, many of whom were operating from Bangladesh, until there was a crackdown that was launched by the then Awami League government headed by Hasina in 2009. So for the last decade plus, India's northeast has relatively seen very few big-ticket attacks from these insurgent groups, particularly those groups like Alpha, which had safe sanctuary in Bangladesh. Bangladesh has also initiated the construction of the Matarbari deep-sea port in collaboration with Japanese firms. This is the first such facility in the entire Bay of Bengal. This project is funded through Japan's official development assistance program. Separately, China is also advancing the development of the Kyapkyu deep-sea port in Myanmar's Rakhine state. This is again part of the China-Myanmar economic corridor under the Belt and Road Initiative. This port, too, is strategically significant, providing China with direct access to the Bay of Bengal. But this is not the only port development in Bangladesh which has been caught in the global crossfire. Earlier, the St. Martin's Island, Bangladesh's only coral island, had been at the center of geopolitical back and forth. Former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina had alleged that the United States had pressured her to concede control of the St. Martin Island, and that she refused to do so, and that she believed was one of the reasons why she was ousted from power. However, both the US government at that time under Joe Biden and also Hasina's own son, Syed Wajid, have denied these claims. Muhammad Yunus, who's now the interim leader of Bangladesh, recently visited China. He's managed to secure commitments totaling over $2 billion in investments from China into Bangladesh. During his visit, Yunus also emphasized Bangladesh being in a strategic position as a maritime gateway. He suggested in that speech that India's northeastern states are effectively landlocked, and he highlighted Bangladesh's potential role in helping China develop regional trade. That comment did not go down well with New Delhi. India even summoned a senior Bangladeshi High Commission official and issued a démarche. Bangladesh's growing ties with China, particularly in strategic infrastructure projects like airstrips and ports, may prompt even the United States to reassess its engagement in the region. For now, just as India is watching its western flank with Pakistan, it will also need to pay serious attention to its eastern flank, particularly if there is a commonality of strategy between Beijing and Dhaka, which involves Islamabad as well. So let's try and break this down as to why India should be worried, because the next time it may not just be a partnership between China and Pakistan, it could also be a strategic embrace which involves Bangladesh. So instead of a two-front war, India could potentially be looking at a three-front war. Professor Brahma Chalani is a strategic affairs expert. He's now joining us. Thank you very much, Professor, for speaking with us. The Chinese expressing an interest in this Lalmonir Hat air base. It's about 100 kilometers from the Chicken's Neck, which anyway is a bit of a strategic choke point as far as India is concerned. China wanting to revive this base. This is just a few kilometers from the Indian border. How and why should be this a matter of concern for India?
The planned revival of this air base with Chinese assistance would represent a tangible step in China's growing strategic presence in India's immediate neighborhood. This directly impacts India's security calculations, particularly concerning India's eastern and northeastern regions. We have to keep in mind that reviving this air base has to be seen in context of what Bangladesh is doing elsewhere. The interim regime in Bangladesh is also planning to transfer the project
the Teesta River project, which is a $1 billion project, transfer it from India to China, because the ousted Prime Minister Hasina had pledged last year when she came to New Delhi that she wants to give it to India, even though China is ready. But now the interim government is planning to give it to China, and this project is also located right at India's border, close to the Siliguri corridor, the chicken's neck. And if you see both these projects, they represent a deliberate attempt to make India's security more susceptible to external intervention. For example, an active Lemon-Heret air base would greatly enhance China's ability to conduct aerial surveillance and reconnaissance on Indian military facilities, including in the Siliguri corridor. It will also, represent a major concern for India, because any kind of disruption of the Siliguri corridor, even if it's temporary, would effectively cut off India's northeast from the Indian mainland. But if you just look at it, that even if you go by what is being said in the Bangladeshi media, that this won't be used by Pakistan for military purposes. Now, even if you take that at face value and look at the potential dual use that this revived air base can be put to, this could have even a dual use meaning will have military meaning for India, because in certain scenarios, this could facilitate Chinese presence and logistics in the region. For example, in a conflict scenario, even if not directly used by Chinese combat aircraft, this base could serve as a logistical hub for China to facilitate the movement of Chinese personnel, equipment, or intelligence assets in the region. As you know, this is the way logistic hubs were used during World War II, and this potentially revived air base in Bangladesh is actually from the World War II era. So for India, this represents a major concern, and therefore India has to respond in several ways to this development.
All right, Professor, the other problem is that the chicken's neck, and this has always long been viewed as a strategic concern for India, a kind of a choke point, if you will. It came into sharp focus during the Doklam standoff in 2017 in the tri-junction between India, China and Bhutan. India, of course, needs to find ways to try and better secure this narrow stretch of land, also explore alternative routes to connect the northeast with the mainland of the country. What can India do to address this challenge of the chicken's neck?
Zaka, you raise a fundamental question. India had an opportunity in 1971 when India helped liberate Bangladesh. At that time, India could have, through a swap deal, increase the size of the Siliguri corridor width, would have broadened that width by transferring land elsewhere to Bangladesh in return for Bangladesh ceding some land. We missed that opportunity. And then during the government of Sheikh Hasina, India entered into major transit agreements with Bangladesh so as to facilitate greater logistical access to the northeast, and to allow northeastern goods to come to the Indian mainland more easily. In other words, we tried to get over the Siliguri corridor issue by creating this transit arrangement with Bangladesh. But now Bangladesh has become a completely different country, a more radicalized country, a country that is now in the sway of Islamists, with a regime that appears to be increasingly hostile to India, which is willing to work with both Pakistan and Bangladesh to contain India. So the security picture in South Asia has fundamentally changed, exacerbating India's chicken neck problem.
All right, Professor Chelani, we'll leave it at that. We'll see if there is a strategic response to this from Indian military planners and policymakers. Meanwhile, talking about the India and Pakistan conundrum, days after Operation Sindoor, the after effects and the remnants continue because YouTuber Jyoti Malhotra was arrested over the weekend for allegedly spying on behalf of Pakistan. Now, new evidence has emerged against her. Jyoti Malhotra was allegedly in touch with multiple Pakistani agents and used different means to keep her connections secret. She's been booked under the Espionage Act and Benami laws as well. The YouTuber Jyoti Malhotra is facing intense grilling by the Haryana police as well as the National Investigation Agency over her alleged Pakistan links. Also, we're given to believe by investigating sources that there were encrypted chats, some of which she has deleted. There were foreign travels and expenses around those foreign travels which have not been fully accounted for. And also there was allegedly pro-Pakistan content on her Instagram as well as YouTube pages. She's one of a dozen individuals who've been arrested across Punjab, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh as part of this crackdown on a suspected Pakistan-linked spy network operating in northern India. Meanwhile, the Haryana police is trying to unravel the mystery behind this alleged espionage ring. Conversations between Jyoti Malhotra and a PIO are under investigation right now. The police have sent as many as 3 mobile phones and a laptop, which they say they've seized from Jyoti Malhotra for further forensic examination. What has caught the eye of investigators is that there is no chat history with Pakistan High Commission official Danish on her devices post-March. The police have sent a total of 6 gadgets for further examination, 3 mobile phones of Jyoti, 1 laptop, and 2 mobile phones of one of her aides have been sent for further forensic analysis.
Continuing in the Jyoti Malhotra espionage case, more and more skeletons are tumbling out of the closet. What sources within the investigating agencies have confirmed to us that Jyoti was in fact in touch with a PIO officer all the way in Pakistan, especially during the time when Operation Sindoor was underway. She was giving out crucial information regarding the blackout timings and about military installations and the military movement that was happening. This is something that has been confirmed to us by the investigating agencies who are looking into this entire matter. Apart from that, Jyoti Malhotra was also in constant touch with another PIO agent whom she had met in Pakistan on her last visit to Pakistan. CNN News 18 has gone ahead and accessed the chats that were happening between both these people, the PIO agent that is Adil Hassan and Jyoti Malhotra. In fact, while Jyoti Malhotra was crossing the border of Pakistan from the Atari-Wagah border, initially the PIO agent went ahead and asked if at all she had gotten any sort of a protocol, to which Jyoti very clearly replied that she did not receive any sort of a protocol. Other than that, she was also asked about the whereabouts of RAW and IB agents who might be present at the Atari side of the border. Not only this, but also she was also asked to persuade the other people who were part of his group, who were traveling alongside with her, so that some news sources could be built for the PIO or for the ISI who wanted to develop sources out here in India. The custody of Jyoti Malhotra is going to come to an end tomorrow, and it is very, very likely at this point in time that the Hisar police might ask for an extended custody of Jyoti Malhotra so that the new evidences that have come to the fore, the chats that have come to the fore, she can be confronted with all those evidences.
Meanwhile, even as politics over Operation Sindoor continues, CNN News 18's Akash Sharma takes us to the Indian Army's forward posts along the international border. These are the sites that endured heavy cross-border firing from Pakistan, but the people around these areas and the armed forces that were guarding these areas have managed to stand tall. This exclusive visit confirms that Pakistan failed to inflict any major damage to India's frontline posts. This ground report also gives you an insight into India's defense systems, featuring battle tanks, mechanized infantry units, and advanced missile and artillery weaponry, which are now the backbone of India's military strength. Here's an exclusive ground report from Akash Sharma.
L-70 anti-aircraft gun is one gun system that has played an important role as far as defense of the military installations here in India is concerned. We know that how this gun is capable enough to neutralize any sort of aerial threat, be it drone, UAV, aircraft or any sort of missile in fact. But as far as the functionality is concerned, so you are seeing these visuals where this gun can in fact rotate 360 degree and can decide several sort of angles on the basis of threat that is coming towards the area. In fact, it has got integration with Akash Tir system, that in fact decides and in fact sends a message on the sort of threat that is approaching.
This gun is very effective. It's very accurate. The rate of fire is too high. It creates a barrage of the rounds which it fires, a wall kind of a thing. It was extremely effective as far as the drones were concerned. Any drones which was in our AOR, it was downed by this gun only. These guns are actually controlled by the radars. There are fire control radars there, and these guns are controlled by that. It can track in day as well as in night. It's very effective gun.
We have heard of gun systems, we have heard of command and control centers, but not much has been spoken about the radars that were used by the Army Air Defense units of Indian armies, in fact. Today I'm standing in this forward location and I'm showing you this radar that is fire control radar. It basically helps gun systems like L-70 to choose the target and in fact to point towards the target and decide the direction that in which direction it will fire to neutralize that sort of threat. I'll try to talk to the officer as well as to what is the function and as far as this radar is concerned, so how important this radar is. Sir, अगर आप हमें बता पाएँ ये रडार के बारे में, ये तो फायर कंट्रोल रडार है हमें बताया गया, लेकिन अर्ली वार्निंग रडार्स भी होते हैं, किस तरह के रडार्स यूज़ किए जाते हैं आर्मी एयर डिफेंस में और इसका क्या रोल था?
बेसिकली जैसा आपने बताया कि आप मेरे दाहिनी तरफ जो रडार देख रहे हैं वो एक फायर कंट्रोल रडार है। इस फायर कंट्रोल रडार को हम सर्च और ट्रैक दोनों ही कर सकते हैं इस रडार की मदद से। आप मेरे ठीक पीछे देखेंगे तो एक रडार है जो कि हमारा एयर डिफेंस सिस्टम का अर्ली वार्निंग रडार है। उस अर्ली वार्निंग रडार के माध्यम से हमारे FC रडार जो कि फायर कंट्रोल रडार है, इसको टारगेट का डाटा पास किया जाता है और ये FC रडार अपने वेपन सिस्टम के द्वारा उस टारगेट पर सटीक फायर करके उसको बर्बाद करता है।
A number of important aspects of Operation Sindoor have not come out in the public domain, and one such aspect is the use of mechanized infantry. When the ceasefire violation was happening from the other side, then different arms of Indian Army in fact came together, and in fact mechanized infantry went till LC and in fact fired from LC to the other side to give a befitting reply to the sort of violations that were happening. Historical context, Akhnur is known for the tank battle that happened between the troops of India and Pakistan back in 1965. But during Operation Sindoor, now in 2025 in fact, the tanks were very much used by Indian Army. This time they did not cross the LC but were very much retaliating to the sort of fire that was coming from the other side. In fact, I am standing on one T-72 main battle tank which was indeed used in this operation and in fact in the Akhnur sector itself. Today we have these sort of modifications that have happened because of the new age warfare, where we have drones coming from the other side, where we have UAVs coming from the other side. And when on 8th May, 9th May and in fact on 10th May the violations were happening, these tanks were moved to the forward locations and in fact were very much used by the armored core of Indian Army.
That was our Akash Sharma reporting there from the forward posts that were affected during those 4 days of Operation Sindoor. Now, following a 2-hour phone conversation with Russian President Vladimir Putin, US President Donald Trump has said that Russia and Ukraine will immediately begin ceasefire negotiations. These talks come nearly a week after President Trump, who wants to be seen as a global peacemaker, said that a solution to the Russia-Ukraine war can only come after he and President Putin meet or speak directly. Donald Trump has repeatedly urged both Ukraine and Russia to end the bloodbath and reiterated that once again after his call with President Putin.
Three presidents who didn't meet last week in three very different moods after one not very fruitful phone call. First up, Russian President Vladimir Putin taking the most important call of his war casually from here, a music school by the sea. A ceasefire might come with the right paperwork, he said, and President Trump knows Russia wants peace, but no substantive change from 3 months ago. Russia's position is clear, he said. The main thing for us is to eliminate the root causes of this crisis. Flash across the Black Sea to Kiev, where Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has got through a weekend of record drone strikes, 9 killed in one on a minibus. To see this supposed breakthrough moment for diplomacy just heap frustration on frustration. They don't even know who will meet next or where.
Such a meeting could take place in Turkey, in the Vatican, or in Switzerland. We are now considering these three venues. The question is, who will be able to organize this with the appropriate result?
And the most positive spin from President Donald Trump.
We just spent 2.5 hours talking to Vladimir Putin,
who 5 days ago wanted to personally intermediate between two enemies, but now seems tinged with a sense he might be stepping back. And Ukraine and Russia can talk about a ceasefire alone, maybe in the Vatican. The conditions for that, he wrote, will be negotiated between the two parties, as it only can be, because they know details of a negotiation that nobody else would be aware of.
Let's get some perspective on this. Brian Abel is CNN correspondent joining us live from the White House. Brian, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin had this 2.5-hour-long phone call to try and see if they can end the Ukraine war. Why is the White House so hopeful that Ukraine and Russia will make the necessary progress without any kind of third-party intervention or mediation, and that these direct talks will eventually lead them to a ceasefire?
Yeah, Zaka, I think that optimistic really is how this White House is feeling after yesterday's call. President Trump saying later that he believed, quote, something's going to happen. He also said in his Truth Social post about the call that Russia and Ukraine will immediately start negotiations toward a ceasefire, and saying that the tone and the spirit of the conversation were, quote, excellent. So the timeline that Trump laid out, that the negotiations would start immediately, it really hints to this idea that Trump believes progress will be made directly between Ukraine and Russia, and said the Vatican has actually shown interest in hosting negotiations between the two countries. Now, we also know that President Trump, after speaking with Putin yesterday, he called other world leaders, including Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, directly, Zaka.
So tell us a little bit more about that phone call. We know that President Trump spoke with some European leaders, including the French president. President Zelensky of Ukraine was also there. This was right after his conversation with President Putin. Do we know what President Trump told those leaders, including President Zelensky of Ukraine?
Well, so as you mentioned, so after that Putin call, the president did talk with Zelensky directly, and then there was this other conference call, as you mentioned, with other world leaders that included French President Emmanuel Macron, the German Chancellor, Italy's Prime Minister, and as well as the President of the European Union. However, it's not entirely clear if President Trump made any direct warnings to any of the other countries about actions that would delay a ceasefire, such as any additional sanctions against Russia. So that's still unclear. But despite Trump's optimism, he did not discuss a timeline for a possible ceasefire with Vladimir Putin, according to a Kremlin aide. And that really is leaving the question of whether the needle truly has been moved an open question.
All right, CNN's Brian Abel reporting for us this morning there in the U.S. from the White House. Thank you very much for joining us. So we'll wait and see if at all Trump's intervention will lead to some kind of a lasting peace, if not a ceasefire, between Russia and Ukraine, something that President Putin has been loath to try and arrive at with his Ukrainian counterpart. That's a wrap. Thanks very much for tuning in. Hard Facts with Rahul Shivshankar. Coming up next.
News18.com marches way ahead of the Times of India with 38% more users on native and social platforms. Network 18, the undisputed leader of news networks, way ahead of the Times. Co-presented by... This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Khan back then was the president and appointed himself field marshal. Here, an Asim Munir is being appointed by the cabinet and by the prime minister, rank of field marshal. Please note this. He is not from any official military academy. He finished the careers, literally, that's what's reported, of 20 lieutenant generals. He forcibly removed, incarcerated and elected leader, a sitting prime minister in Imran Khan. Imran's close aide said that the Pakistan Democracy Act introduced in the US Parliament had recommended sanctions against Asim Munir for visa restrictions and asset freeze. Munir wants to take control of Pakistan before November 2025 to save himself from this bill. Pak Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif remains a puppet in the hands of Munir, who was in the driving seat and who had the steerings of the nation is very clearly seen. This man has been nicknamed the deceiver by his batchmates when he was a major or a junior officer. He was referred to, or he's continuously referred to in the military circles in Pakistan as Chachu Whiskey and erstwhile elsewhere as Mullah Munir. In these military circles, this is reported. He led Dehshatgardi in Vardi in areas like Balochistan, Waziristan, Pakhtunistan, Sindh, POK. ये जो दहशतगर्दी है, इसके पीछे वर्दी है, is a coinage which continues under his leadership in these regions. He tarnished the code of the uniform by equating it with service to religion rather than service to nation. You ask any person who's donned the uniform across the world would say we serve the country, not a particular religion, but this man changed that code. He spewed bigoted political venom and further insulted the uniform. Asim Munir could not prevent the Baloch Liberation Army capturing the Manguchor town in Balochistan. He could do nothing in the Jafar Express hijack when his own personnel were taken hostage. There are visuals of how the Pakistan army was battered at the hands of the BLA during the Jafar Express hijack incident. He saw patronized terror infrastructure demolished under Operation Sindoor. He was moved to a bunker for 2 hours as 11 air bases were pounded, 20% of the entire armed forces infrastructure decimated in less than 25 minutes. He tried to humanize his failure and avoid scrutiny of strategic failures of radar gaps during Operation Sindoor. Bharat strikes exposed Pakistan's weak ammunition. Munir's military stretched thin amid economic unrest. It's a nation that is going around with a begging bowl. 40% of this entire budget of Pakistan is consumed by the defense. He's charged with multiple acts of corruption and looting billions of dollars of Pakistan people's money and pocketing it himself. Bharat's drone warfare exposing Pakistan's defense vulnerabilities. He highlighted civilian casualties to reinforce Pakistan's victimhood narrative globally, according to intel sources, but not one salute or guard of honor to the braves in Pakistani uniform who have been consumed because of his act. Munir scrambling to secure financial aid. He is at the beck and call of Beijing. This J-35 fighters that has come at 50% discount, please be rest assured that he is sacrificing at the altar of his own sustenance the entire sovereignty of Pakistan, declaring it or rendering it a near vassal state at the hands of Beijing and the CCP. There's been an overwhelming response for Asim Munir. That's what many believe, and that's what...
Viewers, I'll cut straight to the chase. Once again, the Congress party has shown where its sympathies lie. And from the evidence at hand, it's certainly not with the brave soldiers who put their lives on the line for India. By calling Operation Sindoor, quote, insignificant, unquote, and dismissing it as a chutput war, Mallikarjun Kharge, the Congress president, and his party haven't just insulted the government, viewers. They've mocked the blood, the sweat, the sacrifice of India's armed forces, the people who serve this country. And sometimes, viewers, put their lives on the line for us so that we can sleep better, so we can actually come out and speak in public. The Congress party tonight can speak freely because its life is safeguarded by the armed forces. The same armed forces, viewers, that it chooses to belittle. Listen.
ಇದು ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದ್ದಾಗ 17ನೇ ತಾರೀಕು ನೀವು ಕಾಶ್ಮೀರಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಕ್ಕಂತ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮವನ್ನ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ಸಲ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ನೀವು ಯಾಕೆ ಈ ಟೂರಿಸ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಪೊಲೀಸರ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಯಾಕೆ ಹೇಳಲಿಲ್ಲ? ನೀವು ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಡಿ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತೊಂದರೆ ಇದೆ ಅನ್ನತಕ್ಕಂತ ಮಾತು ನೀವು ಹೇಳಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ 26 ಪ್ರಾಣಗಳನ್ನ ಉಳಿತೀವು. ಮತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಈಗೇನು ನಾವು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಚುಟ್ಪುಟ್ಟು ಯುದ್ಧಗಳು ನಡೆದಿವೆ,